Well, hello there, welcome back to LAB and my brand new handles. I am now officially Chrissie Wolfe under Instagram and Twitter. Lots of reasons why I changed it, all of them I've talked about in a video that I posted on Instagram about a week ago, so check it out if you want to hear more about that. Today I want to celebrate the first working day of May, which is usually a very peaceful month, or at least less stressful than the rest of the year, because for most of you it will be the first working day after the end of the financial year. Some of you I know will have gone up until the beginning of April rather than the end, but either way, May is usually relatively chilled out compared to the horror that has gone before in the last few months up to the end of financial year. If you're already in practice, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. If you're an aspiring lawyer who has yet to experience this, then listen up, because this is going to be you very soon. Target was probably the thing that I found most stressful in my job. Aside from deadlines, client expectations, partner expectations, targets were always the thing that really hung over my head and really kept me awake at night and stressed me out. And it wasn't until recently that I really found a way of dealing with that I wanted to talk you through today. So the first thing that you need to appreciate about targets is that they are absolutely nothing to do with you. The firm sets targets based on the amount of revenue that they need to bring in that year, or they want to bring in that year. And the factors that they take into account include things like how much revenue someone in a similar situation has brought in before. It involves looking at when cases are likely to settle, when you're likely to bill certain cases. It's all based on previous data of which you are not one of those data points. And that's not an allegation of toxicity. That's the business's prerogative. It has hired you to fulfill a certain set of objectives. And if you can't fulfill those, it doesn't need to cater around you. It can just hire somebody that does. That's just the facts of the situation. And this is an important life lesson to learn, not just for relationships with employers, but relationships in general. You should never value yourself in accordance with somebody else's expectations of you. I've explained to you already what that means in the context of work and how targets are set. When it comes to relationships with people, their expectations of you are often based on previous relationships that they've had, previous traumas that they've experienced, ideals or goals that they have set for themselves, things that their parents have done, things they've seen on TV, a million and one things that have absolutely nothing to do with you. So, as a foundation for having any kind of relationship with anyone else, whether it be an employer, whether it be a person, whoever, you need to first have a really strong sense of self-worth and your own value. And this shouldn't be influenced by anyone else, what anyone else thinks of you, or what you've seen other people achieve in that situation or a similar situation, because no one else is you and no one else has lived this life as you. So how does this help you? Because if you're an ambitious person who wants to do well in their career, you want to get promoted, you want to get a bonus, etc., then you have to hit those targets. And in certain situations, you will have to meet other people's expectations in order to achieve certain things that you want. Not valuing yourself in accordance with other people's expectations of you is not the same as ignoring them altogether, but the mental health impacts of doing that are far, far reduced if you have a really good sense of self-worth and your own value and how that's separate from someone else's expectations of you and someone else's definition of your value. For your employer, for example, you are a money-making asset for the business. Nothing more, nothing less than that. But that's not who you are to the world. That's not who you are to your parents. It's not who you are to your partner, it's not who you are to your friends, it's not your purpose on this earth, but that is what you are to them. And the problem with spending upwards of 3/4 of your waking hours working for an employer, particularly in a situation where you might have come straight into that job from school or from university and you've had very little opportunity to explore and define your own version of self-worth, is that you confuse it with someone else's definition, in this case, your employer. And that can become incredibly toxic and stressful and damaging to your mental health, given what I've just said about how your employer values you. So in conclusion to this relatively short video for me, this is a note from me to you telling you that no matter what your target is or was, or whether you hit it or not, your worth is not measured in 6-minute units. And don't you dare forget it. Big love, guys. See you next time.